because there's a risk to every time we contribute to the culture in our communities, in our homes, in our relationships, in our workplace. There's a risk of rejection, and there's a risk of betrayal. There's a risk of so many things that I could share, but the risk, I believe, if you know your worth, your inherent worth, that no matter the outcome, you will like who you're becoming.
Today, I am very excited to welcome Dr. Julia Garcia to the show. Now, I love this podcast. I love all of our guests, but boy, oh boy, today's episode sort of touched me deeply. It was so powerful. So Dr. Julia, or Dr. J, as she, I guess she's known for within the community. She's all about this whole idea of trying to show the intersection between neuroscience and hope. And she does many other things, but that's really what we talked about today. Just the power and the importance of hope and resilience, and how these, how having hope and resilience and all these things, perseverance, how they interact and impact the brain, like literally the brain, like in how we feel and how we work. So she's written a book, and the book is called The 5 Habits of Hope. And so during the podcast, we sort of walk through what these 5 habits of hope are. And I'll just tell you right now that they're reflect, risk, release, receive, and repurpose. And so we go through each one of them and sort of tying them into many different stories. And she's a great, fantastic storyteller, and just ties them into sort of real world examples all the way through. So just a really fantastic episode. I think you're going to enjoy this one. I have not read the book yet, but I definitely plan to. So I would encourage everyone to go out and buy The 5 Habits of Hope by Dr. Julia Garcia. And show notes for this episode can be found over at gembapodcast.com. This is episode 621. Again, gembapodcast.com, and look for episode 621. Okay, enough from me. Let's get to the show. Julia, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Where are you calling in from?
New York.
New York. Okay. All right. What's the weather like?
Just had a snowstorm.
I was going to say, yeah.
It is bundle hot cocoa weather right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're actually pretty far ahead right now on the podcast, so it kind of throws people off, like they might be listening. I don't know when this one's going to be released, but,
it's going to stop for
we're
a long
actually
time.
recording this before Christmas, people, so just sort of get a context of when we're actually recording it. But anyhow, well, I'm really excited for this interview. We didn't get a chance to really chat before we hit record, but I'm glad, because it's more sort of real when we do it on the podcast. But I love, and I genuinely mean this topic. It's so near and dear to me, like this whole idea of our brains and neuroscience and human behavior, and all the things that we're talking about in our community with lean and continuous improvement. Ultimately it comes down to people, sort of cooperating and working at their best, and obviously one thing is in common: we all have brains, we all have feelings, we all have things going on inside of us, and so I feel like it's fascinating intersecting the two worlds, because, well, they're interconnected as it is. But I'm just really excited for this interview. So.
Oh, awesome. Me too.
Well, we like to begin all of our episodes with our guests sharing a quote or maybe a poem.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so I'm also a spoken word poet, and so the book has poetry laced throughout, some just little short prose, but this is at the opening of the book. It says, "A note of hope. Who are we to speak of hope? For those who have nearly drowned in the depths of despair, having to run as fast and as far away as possible to keep from staying there. If hopelessness has ever been a hole you called home, know, wherever you are with hope, you will never be alone. For you, who may feel hopeless now, you are still here, and so is hope. It is yours if you'll have it. I hope you will."
That's beautiful. What's that mean to you?
I wrote it almost after the book was done. And to me, it was allowing myself to be the artistic side of my academic and professional side, and to incorporate hope in a way that sounds a little more messy and fluid and dark, but also that there's hope in that. So I think it was really just being able to give myself permission as a professional to also be artistic in when I speak about things that really affect everyday life. So sometimes I can speak about them from a scientific approach, but this was really giving me permission to talk about hope from, I would say the line that stuck out the most was, if you've ever called hopelessness a place you've called home,
Mm,
if that's really what drove that piece, is when you get into a place that's so deep, you recognize it as your new home.
mm. Oh, that hits home. I mean, that's powerful and it's deep, because I think everybody listening can, hopefully not right now, but there's probably been times in your life when you're struggling with whatever it could be, right? And it's so easy to sort of let despair and hopelessness sort of take over. So yeah, well, beautiful. What's the name of your book?
The book is called The 5 Habits of Hope, and it's stories and strategies to help us find our way.
Mm. So what made you want to write a book? I mean, obviously you're a professional and all that, marketing, and I get it, but there's typically a
Yeah.
deeper reason for an author wanting to write a book.
Well, the work that I do, I hear people's very personal struggles in an anonymous way. So people write their struggles, their things that they need, their hopes, through different writing exercises. And over the past decade or two, I have collected hundreds of thousands of stories from all over the world. And it varies in age, demographic, from organizational leaders to students, educators, inmates. I mean, you name it. I have heard stories from Wisconsin to Illinois, California, Hawaii, Guam. I mean, I have heard stories from all over the world. And I wanted to honor those stories, and I wanted to celebrate the strength of sharing their stories, even in an anonymous capacity. And I wanted to continue to share not just the struggles that are going on in people's lives behind the scenes and below the surface, but also their hopes and how we can
Mhm.
find our way back to it.
So in your book, you've written about the power of resilience
Mm-hmm.
and how it can help us bounce back. But as you've been talking about hope, that hope helps us move forward. So again, geeking out on the neuroscience side of
Yeah.
things, I love thinking about how our brains are firing and working. Like what's going on in our
Yeah.
brains when this is all happening.
Yeah. So let's talk about the opposite first. So like when we feel hopeless, our brain shuts down the systems that help us move forward, goal set, our motivation, our regulation, our immune responses. But when we feel hopeful, our brain releases dopamine and strengthens those pathways so that we can plan, persist, and it activates the goal directed circuits that will keep us motivated, emotionally regulating, planning, goal setting. So it's essential for leaders of any capacity to find habits of hope to implement into their daily life, because what we're doing is we're giving ourselves permission in our mind by reshaping those neural pathways from going from the hopeless place where our brain starts to shut down, right? And so we're no longer being productive
Mm-hmm.
and present, to allowing us to be able to strategize, innovate. And it's not removing problems, it's saying there's a way through.
Is it fair, even accurate, to say, and you hear this a lot, that hope is a choice? Is that true?
I believe hope is less of it's a habit. I believe it's a habit. It's something we
Mm,
practice. So it's an action tied to a sense of worth. And so it's more of an action statement tied to a belief statement. So it's not
mm,
just a choice, it's also action with value. So it's
mm.
not a choice, but it's not, but
Just a
including,
choice.
yes, exactly. You said it
Yeah,
better.
yeah. It's pretty deep when you think about it, because I feel like everyone could probably recognize times in your life when you're feeling bad or there's illness in yourself or your family or something like that. And it's so easy for sort of that despair and gloom to sort of set in, right? And
Yes.
instead trying to have that hope. And yeah, it's powerful. It's
Yeah.
powerful.
And we realize we'll know how powerful hope is when we recognize that exactly, Ron, when we realize how powerful hopelessness is, how debilitating it is, how paralyzing it becomes,
Yeah.
how how dangerous it is. And we each know individually by witnessing someone we love go to that place, or us going to that place, where we realize how dangerous hopelessness can become. And that's why I believe it's such a critical priority for us to include and to learn more about, and I learn more about as well, is how can we build processes back to hope, because hopelessness is damaging all
Mm-hmm.
around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, within especially in the world of the audience listening right now, there's this whole thing in sort of corporate America where, grit,
Mm-hmm.
endurance,
Mm-hmm.
fighting through the struggle kind of thing.
Yep.
In fact, there's a book, you don't, no disrespect, it's a good book, called Grit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all about just sort of having that, that, I don't know, that don't give up kind of thing attitude,
Mm-hmm.
which is important. You shouldn't give
Mm-hmm.
up, obviously. But this whole idea of grit and endurance, I feel like it's causing people to, sort of burn out. And yeah, it's just, I don't know if it works all that well. So I'm wondering if you have ideas of what's a better approach, perhaps hope and these types of
Yeah.
things. Like, how can we contrast and maybe move away from that, fight through it, to
Oh,
something else?
I appreciate this conversation so much, because this is very much a dominating issue that I'm seeing leaders struggling with. And I think people are calling it burnout, but I think it's much deeper than that, and there's more layers intersecting it. I think where I'll begin with this is there is a lack of trust in ourselves that we are enough and we are equipped and we are capable as is. There's always a growth, do better, do more. And that's how we prove value and worth. Whereas when we trust that I have tools, I am equipped, like the easiest way I can say this is I'll ask you, Ron, have you been through some tough things?
Yes.
Yeah, right. You've been
Many
through some tough
times.
things. I'm sure if you're listening right now you've been through some failures. You've been through some setbacks. You've wanted to quit. You've wanted to give up. You've had people underestimate you. You've underestimated you, but you still here. Okay.
I've
You
had
are still,
teenagers.
yes. There you go. Right. You have, you're in a marriage and working at the same time and providing and being
Yeah.
present. There's so many skills we already have and we are equipped with. So when we're constantly reaching, we are not really being present. And when we don't trust that what we have is enough, we can't own it. We can't have the authority to be present and fully be effective in it, because we're striving. We're seeking something because we're not knowing that we have it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're not wasting any more energy to prove you're tough, and you realize I've been through some tough things, I'm tough, then you get all that energy back. And that's what fuels creative ideas, innovative solutions, collaborative programming. That's where the exciting stuff happens, the stuff that AI can't replace you with. That's where it is. When you're fully present, when you trust that where you are right now is enough, then we're not reaching. We're not exasperating this effort that is endless on both ends, all ends. And it when we get that energy back, I like to say it's not about stopping habits, it's about replacing them. So when we get that energy back, now we can replace it and apply it somewhere that brings us the life that keeps us from burning out, right? So when we get to add a more creative solution to a problem in front of us, when we get to put our unique spin on it, it's very different than just getting something done and just keeping up and pulling up your bootstraps and just going, doing. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan, to say all of that, in performance, productive, high performance culture, because I believe, and I have seen up close, just how incredible and resilient people are. And it's really, I feel like a lot of my job is coming alongside of them and giving them permission to see that themselves, so that they can come alive again in the work that they're doing, which is so essential.
Hmm. How do you encourage people who are, maybe they're struggling with, I don't even know, just some situation in their life or whatever it might be, and it's sort of pulling them down, and they're trying to have hope and they're trying to move forward, but it's hard, and they keep having setbacks and getting
Yeah.
discouraged. Like, what sort of words of hope or whatever, I
Hmm.
don't know how else to say it, do you have for
Yeah.
folks like that?
Well, a couple of things. First, you're not alone. Second, I would say sometimes we can think that we need a lot of hope. So we can just take the pressure off that right now and just like, if you just have a little tiny seed, you're good. If you just have like a little glimmer of, I'm really hopeful for my son to X, Y, and Z. Just a little hope what it can do is it starts to interrupt the thought cycles that can trend towards hopelessness.
Yeah.
And the more we interrupt them with the tiny little seeds, the more we can start to reshape those neural pathways.
Well, even thinking about the work of like Charles Duhigg and these guys and the power of habit and all that, like these small little things that you can do to build these sort of, small habits that then build into these larger, grandiose sort of life-changing habits kind of thing. But yeah, you know, I'm going to floss one tooth today because I don't floss my teeth. So I'm going to floss one tooth today. You know what I mean? And now tomorrow it's two. And next thing you know, you're a regular tooth flosser, right? So
Exactly. And instead
yeah.
of the building with the small habits, what we're doing is we're rerouting and we're interrupting. And the more you do that, the more those circuits in your mind start to build differently and
Yeah.
reshape in a new way, as
Yeah.
opposed to. So I like to say, I still go to a place of hopelessness. Okay. I hope this doesn't not make you want to get the book. Okay. 5 Habits of Hope. But I still feel hopeless. That is the truth. But the difference is now I have tools to where I'm not going to stay there. It's not my home anymore. I might go and camp out a couple nights, but I'm not building my house there. And that's the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so powerful. So, all right, talk a little bit about in your book. I don't know how much you want to give away, but everybody need to go buy the book. But so you introduce 5 habits of hope. So, what are they?
Yeah, let's dive into them. So each habit is accompanied with a practical application, which I call a feeling framework. Because what happens is our feelings are what we really equate hope to. Do we feel it or do we not? Even though it's a cognitive science, it really boils down to how we feel about it. So there's a feeling prompt for every one of the habits, just so you could practice it in real time. So the first one is about reflection. And why this is so important is because we are, as you introduced earlier, we're kind of in this high performance, go getting, do all the things culture. And that awareness can help us create alignment, realignment with the things that we value and the things that are getting in the way of us being able to actually have the kind of passion we want in what we're doing, the kind of presence our relationships require. So reflection is the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting. Within our lean community, there's a Japanese word called hansai, which is loosely translated as reflection. But it's a deep sort of like looking into like really what's going on. Like it's a deep vision. So okay, so reflect. So risk, I think, is the next one. Right?
Yeah, the prompt with that, I'll actually read one if that works for you.
Yeah,
I will read. So remember, I said I have like a lot of these. So I am going to just pick one off of my desk here. This person says, I was struggling, because that's the prompt. I was struggling with pressure to be a better parent, a teacher, everything. I was feeling defeated, depressed, less than. I was needing help to be put back together. I stayed silent because I am ashamed and broken. I am hopeful because I have no choice. So that's an example of someone going through like the full feeling framework. So the next one is really difficult to do. It's the habit of emotional risking. So this isn't about risk taking with adrenaline, which I am an adrenaline junkie, but it's more about, I think this one's critical for this culture in this day and age, because we have the ability to not take emotional risks with each other anymore. Whether it's from a work engagement perspective to our personal lives, we have so much temptation to just do enough, to stay a part of culture and communities and not really contribute. because there's a risk to every time we contribute to the culture in our communities and our homes and our relationships and our workplace. There's a risk of rejection, and there's a risk of betrayal. There's a risk of so many things that I could share. But the risk, I believe, if you know your worth, your inherent worth, that no matter the outcome, you will like who you're becoming.
Man, this is so good. I've got a couple, just being vulnerable here on the podcast. I have some really, really close male friends that I sort of, do life with, and there's been times to where one of us is struggling, and there's several of us, but if we get together for coffee or whatever it is, and like there's just moments to where we've learned over the years, just because we know each other, you can't hide anything, because we just know each other so well, that the moment that someone is like truly vulnerable, and that's so hard, especially for men, to be vulnerable. But the minute that you're vulnerable and you just really put it out there, it's like everything changes, right? And just that almost like kind of release valve or whatever, and you can feel the pressure leave you, right? Because you just put it out there for your friend or the world or whoever it is to see, or your spouse or whatever it might be. Do you agree? Like, is that sort of the way that we should be thinking?
Less thinking, more feeling, right? So How did it feel to just share that?
Oh, that alone felt good, right? Like just putting things out into the world and not keeping it inside is super powerful, right?
And no matter my answer, that is the point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So no matter the outcome, it's who you just became in doing that. The muscle you just built more and more of and strengthened. It's the emotional muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary though, like, especially like in the business world, right? If, managers struggling with whatever, right? And they're afraid to have their boss find out or whatever it might be. And so unfortunately, so often in the corporate world, this whole idea of vulnerability is completely foreign because it's really not safe. They might have HR posters hanging up, saying all these things, but it's not real, right? And so I don't know how we change that. But it really starts with leaders, right? So if you're a leader listening to this, do it yourself, and maybe we can start to turn the tide, because until that happens, I don't really think deep, authentic transformation of any sort can happen, right? So
I think if you're listening to this, I have a couple things just to support what you're saying, because I 100% agree with you. One, you are a leader, and now it's about deciding what kind of leader you want to be. And leaders can withhold, leaders can be grumpy, leaders can be motivating, leaders can be inspiring to follow, leaders can be boring to follow. Right. So it's really about what kind of leader you're going to be. Are you going to be authentic? Are you going to be passionate? Are you going to be hardworking as well? Or are you just going to be hard on yourself and everyone else? It's deciding what kind of leader we want to be and building those habits to sustain that kind of lifestyle that we want. And then there was something else you shared that I think is really critical. And, yes, there is fear. And also there's courage. And it's just as much as we're all leaders and it's deciding what kind we want to be, there's also, we all have fear and we all have courage. So it's which one do we want to lean into more in that moment? And it's okay if we don't always lean into it. But on the other side of that fear, again, I believe is no matter the outcome is someone we want to continue to become, because it's allowing us to be someone who's brave.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so we've had reflect, we've had risk. What's the next one?
The next one you already said. It's release.
There you go. I'm ahead of the game.
So you already nailed it. Yeah, release is about finding ways to let go of what is getting in the way. Yeah. And this is can be the most creative and fun ones, because it could look so different for everybody. It used to look like running for me. After a couple of kids, it now looks like writing. Sitting down somewhere. Yeah. but it looks different for everyone and different times of your life. So be gentle with yourself where you're at. But
Hmm.
it's finding a way to implement a way to emotionally release things that pile up, because our bodies can only hold in so much stress until our heart is going to give out. Okay. So there are health implications to
Blood pressure.
withholding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is having something implemented in your lifestyle. You want it to be simple. You want it to be something applicable, approachable for your day-to-day life. And like, for instance, I have a young son who is learning emotional regulation. I'm learning alongside him because I didn't know this age would have so many emotions this early. But he'll hold his breath and just be, and immediately we have to work on, okay, how can we release that breath in a
Mm.
way that keeps you like still functioning and gets you back to feeling like yourself? Because the holding, it's his natural body's reaction to hold in. And that's all of us. We withhold any of the
Yeah.
feels that are kind of hurting us or harmful. So it's finding ways to release.
Nice. Okay. And then we have receive. Is that
Yes,
right?
this one's really great for leadership and management. Is sometimes we get into positions when we're managing others or projects or building entrepreneurial ideas where we are doers and we are not receivers. And this is
Mm.
the feeling framework to set this up is I needed. So what would support look like or feel like or sound like for you? And I was on a podcast with someone. It was one of my very first podcasts I ever did for this book tour. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, hey, let's go through this. And they said, I need my listeners to support me and to follow me and to do reviews. And, it was so risky, they felt, to say those things and vulnerable, but it was such a powerful thing to identify and ask for support and to be able to then receive it, right? Because that is twofold. So receiving is really important in the workplace, especially, and in our emotional lives, right? Our relationships. But we have to get good at identifying what support would look like or feel like for us uniquely, and then put it out there
Hmm.
and receive it.
Hmm. Got it. Okay. And what's next?
The last and final habit, which I have a bonus habit that I'm going to throw out here just
Okay.
at the end, but is repurposing. So this one is really fun for me because I grew up, I'm one of 6 children, and we never had like the means to have like new furniture and things like that. My parents worked very hard, but my mom would reclaim old furniture. So
Mm.
she would see something that was wasted or thrown out or discarded, and she would reclaim it. And that's the same concept for failures we have, setbacks, any kind of feeling we think is a waste. It's seeing worth where others may see waste. And
Mm.
it's including those and creating opportunities with them. It's turning things into strategy, things that were thrown away or looked at as a loss.
Can
They
you give an
become a
example,
strategy.
maybe?
Yeah, I have an example. So I have a friend, well, I'll give a personal one and then more of a professional one. So um, I'll go back to my mom. My mom was actually in a car accident, and my stepfather, my baby brother and sister, and they were hit head on by a drunk driver.
Mm.
And this was really just destroyed a lot of things in our family. It was a really, really difficult time. And my mom became an advocate for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And that
Mhm.
was a way she took some of the feelings she had and she repurposed it for prevention efforts. And she got to know other people and they got to know her and really humanize the issue of drunk driving so that people who were in those classes and force could actually get to know someone. And she was just always so wonderful with people. And so that's one way that a lot of our passion pursuits come from a place of prevention. Like we want people to not go through what we went through before or
Mhm.
to have things better off than we did. So we kind of create, I'm assuming some of this podcast, maybe I could throw this back to you, is repurposing something in your life. Would you
Mhm.
say that's true?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's a thing that we do within the lean world called 5S, and you're sort of like sorting things out and straightening what's left and all that. But the things that you're sorting out, it's like, what do you do with it, right? And sometimes like, well, we don't need it in this area, but they could use it over there, or you could donate it, or whatever it might be. But yeah, throwing it into the landmine's probably the last thing that we want to do, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I I have failed several times at entrepreneurial businesses that I've started, corporate failure, if you want to say. Um, And one of the things I did was I had built a mobile app for young women back in the day when social media was at a height, and there was just a lot of problems affecting their health. There was suicide ideation, harassment, assault. It was just becoming a very dangerous place, and I wanted to do something about it. And I knew nothing about technology at all, nothing at all. And so I worked with an engineer. I learned all the codes, all the things, and I built this app. We won a bunch of awards, had a great little team, and we ended up having the MVP was over 2,000 people. We had a wait list of thousands of people. It was great. And then I moved. My husband got a job. We relocated. I couldn't find childcare. I was in my PhD program and I just couldn't do it all. I couldn't do it all. And I thought, I was so disheartened by this failure, quote unquote failure, that because we had so much promise. We had won awards. We had a great team. Like, it was just so promising. And I couldn't get out of bed. I was just distraught, and I thought it was a waste. And, that informed years later and informed a new venture that I did. I built a crisis hotline in the height of the pandemic, and it was not, I wouldn't say easy, but it was kind of like boom, boom, boom. I could do things very quickly because I had been in the tech space before. I was able to implement a lot of things. And so that informed even the anger and the pain. It helped me when I repurposed it. It channeled into a new venture, a new cause, a new technology effort, and it was something I would have never thought I would do. But again, it's looking at things as not as a waste and seeing worth.
So the audience listening to you right now is primarily made up of folks who are, not to overgeneralize, but we're problem solvers, right? Like, that's what continuous improvement is about. It's about identifying things that aren't ideal and making them better, and continuously making them better. So I'm wondering if you see this whole idea of hope and that we've been talking about, like, do those things play together?
In problem solving.
Yeah. So like, if we're trying to be, really good at problem solving and we want to, be at our best, like, should we be hopeful?
Yes.
As it
okay.
relates
I just
to
want to
problem
make
solving.
sure I was tying this together right.
Yeah.
Yes. Hope is the greatest single predictor of success in people to perform better, problem solve, adapt, recover, cope better. So it is the number one predictor of success is hopeful leaders, hopeful people, having hope. And again, it's not an intense, insane amount of hope. It's just having hope. Because we know how dangerous hopelessness is. And if you work for a hopeless leader, that could be painful. Okay. So that in itself should let you know that, yes, hopeful employees, there's actually a stat out there. I don't know how, I don't want to like bodge it, but it was something around hopeful employees were like 5 times more likely to innovate than less hopeful ones. So it is absolutely critical. And from a scientific point of view, it helps regulate our nervous system, fuel our motivation to repair and recover things, again, which will fuel our ability to collaborate and to work together in recovering these problems and these solutions. So there's things going on in our mind, it's lighting up the places in our brain that help us stay motivated and regulate. Because sometimes I've worked with leaders and have been witness to leaders who don't have emotional regulation, and they're very challenging to work with. Because when they get angry and they're flying off the handles because a problem gets in front of them and they don't have the emotional regulation tools to collaborate and connect in a way that drives meaningful solutions that are sustainable, because their nervous system's all over the place and people are having to come under them or come beside them. And it is not an ideal innovative place and state to work together in.
Oh my gosh, this has been such a fun conversation. So I'm going to read them all back out, the 5 habits. So we have reflect, risk, release, receive, and repurpose. And name of the book? The
5 Habits of Hope. Stories and strategies to help us find our way.
So full disclosure, I have not read it yet, but
no, it's okay.
I promise you, I'm going to, because
Let me write a review, okay? If you read it, write a review. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, and after I read it, I might have you back on and grill you some more.
I would love that. Yes, I would love that.
So I want everybody to go out and order this book. We'll have a link to it here in the show notes. Everybody scroll down and go check that out. Is there any sort of final parting thoughts that you want to leave with the listeners?
Yeah, thank you so much for listening in. Stay connected with me. Journey with Dr. J, Dr. Julia Garcia, everywhere. You can also listen to the book, which is cool. I did the audio. But yeah, just a reminder to all of you, and hopefully this inspires you on your journey wherever you're at, that having hope doesn't magically just solve our problems, but it activates the parts of our brain that helps us solve them. So stay hopeful wherever you're at.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Whether you've been on the continuous improvement journey for many years, or perhaps you're just getting started, Gemba Academy is here to support you. And while we're best known for our more than 1,500 Lean and Six Sigma teaching and virtual tour videos, we also have a team of experienced Lean and Six Sigma practitioners available for one-on-one coaching, as well as a variety of Lean and Six Sigma certification options. To learn more and to schedule a demo, head on over to GembaAcademy.com.